In the shadows, secrets lurk. She exposes, she ignites. With every post, she does the work. Unmasking darkness, revealing light. Political cow, not beacon bright. Unveiling truth, vanishing light. Of every post, she does the work. Unmasking darkness, revealing light. Political cow, not beacon bright. Unveiling truth, vanishing light. Her voice cuts through, stark and raw. Shattering deception, breaking the law. Icons crumble, empires fall. She stands tall, fierce and cold. Her voice echoes a thunderous call. In the chaos, her strength unfolds. Lost prophets scatter, truth ascends. The world watches, mesmerized. Political cow's battle never ends. In her light, dark meets its demise.
Good late evening, folks. It's still evening. I got a couple of minutes before midnight here on Central Standard Time, of course. But not quite so much. I guess if you're in the East Coast, you already hit midnight there. So we're just... I appreciate the salute, Open Carry, on TikTok there. We're just wrapping up the Sunday talk shows today. There's an interesting dynamic I observed as you kind of surveyed them. And I think some of it's a business decision, honestly, right? So we'll look at, our Sunday morning talk shows, quick snippet on Germany, a quick snippet on some Biden's fitness. I've got a weird liberal post that I came across that I just want to get some feedback from folks on, get some opinions on it. Then we'll close it out. Turning Point USA had some pretty good speakers at it. Tom Homan's speech, I think, was a pretty good one, as well as Trump's. We'll take a look at those as well, and maybe pause and talk through some of the topics that are discussed there. But before I dive into the agenda, and hopefully you guys can kind of see the screen here with me as I'm going. And if you're wondering, the trio there, that's an AI image. That's not them being all disheveled in a dystopian world. That's just an AI image that's out there. But anyway, take a look at my link in bio or the pin chat on YouTube. A lot of the content that I take a look at, I do my research on Ground News. It does a very nice job of telling you the particular slant or angle that a news source is coming from, or if there is a particular news topic, how heavily weighted it is on the liberal side or on the conservative side. So you can get a sense of when, one side or another is trying to push a message. And you get a complete picture because not everybody gives you all the facts or all the details, regardless of what side it's coming from. So check out that link that I got in there too. Hey, Martin, appreciate you asking questions. Yeah, so it's politics, and because it's late night, the suggestion from the audience in the past has been to call it political ASMR. So that's what we're going with. Special needs biblical Christian rapper. Wow, that's a long name. Nobody cares about politics. That's unfortunate. I do though. So keep listening if you guys want to run through this with me. But before we jump into the topics here, excuse me, guys. I need to take a sip of tea. Give me one sec. All right, back here. I want to jump over to, I'm sure you guys heard about the very tragic incident on the, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, the subway in New York City, but you see Kathy Hochul, right? Suspects in custody, right? Horrific incident. What I don't have a sense of is the timing of this. You see 9 hours ago, right? 7 hours ago, she said suspect is in custody, but 9 hours ago, she posted this like, look, subways are safer than ever. Everything's great. I don't know the timing of this post. Um, I don't know. It's almost like this is the type of thing that, yeah, you might want to just remove it. It's a little bit, um, in poor taste at this point in time, right? I know it may have been a pre-scheduled political message, but it's still up there. I think this definitely should be coming down. Just something that I came across here. Anyway, let's jump into it. So, Sunday morning shows, Meet the Press, Face the Nation, Velshi. Everybody know Velshi. He's the guy that got hit with pepper spray during the 2020 riots that were going on there. MSNBC is probably going to get carved out and sold, at least as it's been described now. And one of the strategies they've employed is to separate it completely from NBC News, because that brand has been, that brand is, I don't know. They don't want to tarnish the core brand of NBC News with a lot of what's been going on in terms of the viewership falling off for MSNBC. So when you look at the Sunday talk shows, it's interesting. Velshi's an MSNBC guy. Meet the Press on NBC News is their flagship program on Sunday mornings. The the topics that were covered, I was surprised. We had the potential government shutdown that was going on. It wasn't brought up on Meet the Press. Here, I'll bring it up here in a sec. Was not brought up, and they called this like a special edition of Meet the Press as well, which I don't know what that means, but let's take a look. Hang on a sec. Got to fix the audio real quick. All right, here we go. Now, what does special edition exactly mean? They're not going to follow their usual format. I don't know. They're bringing in special guests. Let's see.
Can Americans keep talking to each other even when they disagree? With political polarization at an all-time high, is it even possible? A record high 80% of U.S. adults believe that Americans are greatly divided on the most important values. Just 18% believe the country is united. Americans today dislike and distrust those from opposing political parties more than they did in the past. Growing shares in each party dishonest, immoral, and unintelligent than others.
So it's an interesting beginning already. They haven't talked about the events of the past week. Usually it's a recap of that and things to look forward to. Sets the stage of what they're going to talk about for the most part. Any of these given programs or any of these given networks. But they're talking about the divide and how do you bring people together. And they're going to bring up some past presidents here and some comments they made in that regard. And what it's bizarre. Not one mention of the government shutdown, of appointees, or anything. So let's keep going. Let's see if they got anything else here. Now, these stats coming up are pretty interesting, right? I mean, of course, there's a divide. You just saw the 80-20 that they were showing a little bit earlier in terms of people that feel it versus not, which, anyway, watch some of these stats, though. It's interesting how they select them. Even though they're not going there like some of the other networks, and they're not going there in terms of hammering on the cabinet appointments, really trying to, target them, bring up something that's salacious or what have you about them, even though they're not going down that route or talking about the government shutdown that was avoided. There's still an angle that comes in with the stats that they put out here and how they talk about them. Not quite yet, but I mean, it's the same old 80-20 that's repeating over here. There's a couple of interesting ones coming up.
November, we talk about the different demographic divides that have been driving elections now. Gender, one of them. This goes back decades. We've really had a gender gap since 1980. In this election, Trump winning men by 12, Harris winning women by 8, a gender gap of 20 points. Third straight election, the gender gap was at least 20 points. We see it on marriage. Married voters, heavily for Trump. Unmarried, heavily for Harris. We see it among white voters, not so much yet with non-white voters. We're keeping an eye on that college degree. Without a degree, Trump wins by 34.
All right, so interesting, right? This is one of those bits of, let's just say, narcissism that we've talked about in the past, that continues to come through over and over again, where there's some level of dismissiveness towards people who don't have a college degree, right? I mean, you look at some of those billionaires out there right now that they always talk about: Zuckerberg, Musk, the Amazon guy. I can't, his name escapes me at the moment, but no college degrees. They dropped out, right? And yet they're some of the most successful people if you're measuring from a financial standpoint. They've created empires, more or less. But they keep hammering on this point around education and somehow connecting that to the value of the vote that people give, or the validity of it, really.
4 points, white voters with a degree, Harris by 8, an enormous gap right there. And then you could take a look right here as well in terms of how this would look on the map. These are all the counties in the country. This is over.
Oh, hey, Jay, sorry. I just saw you mentioned no volume thing. I had another issue with my audio. Hopefully it's coming through now.
3,100 counties, and you think of those demographic divides, Trump cleaning up with blue-collar voters, white voters without college degrees. You see that in a lot of rural areas, a lot of small population counties all over the country. Look at all of that red. Meanwhile, Democrats doing well with, you think of those points, white voters with a degree, Harris by 8, an enormous gap right there. And then you could take a look right here as well in terms of how this would look on the map. These are all the counties in the country. This is over 3,100 counties, and you think of those demographic divides, Trump cleaning up with blue-collar voters, white voters without college degrees. You see that in a lot of rural areas, a lot of small population counties all over the country. Look at all of that red. Meanwhile, Democrats doing well with voters with college degrees, suburbanites, city dwellers. So you see the Democratic base is much more narrow geographically in sort of population-dense areas. That's what the divide looks like there. And you just see within this, look at this, the number of blowout counties where there's at least a 50-point margin in the presidential race, a four-fold increase in the last generation. We can reduce this, though, to a very microscopic level, precinct level. These are areas within cities and towns. We might have found the two most polar opposite demographically precincts in the.
Okay, so I think it's pretty telling, just the number of, counties that were 50% or more in terms of the margin. That basically is endemic of the divide that exists out there. But on the point of education, and it's going to come up again in a second here, I'm going to play a clip because this is what I'm talking about, the narcissism and the negativity towards people who don't have a college degree. This is, I think, what's turning people away. I mean, across the board, whether you have a degree or not, this is what's turning people away from the liberal side of the equation are folks like this.
If you are so sad about your groceries being expensive, get a better fucking paying job.
Whoa, hold on. It's not just the moral superiority here. He just thinks he's better than everybody and that he knows better.
Do better in life. Get a fucking education.
So I'm not going to play the whole clip, but it's a lot of that type of thought process. It's a lot of that type of energy that is being put out there by the Democrat side. In fact, I actually attended a Kamala Harris rally when it came through my area here. And the people that were around me, it's the same sentiment that they expressed. They felt that their perspective, their vote, their opinion, you go down the list of things, maybe even they themselves were more valid than somebody who had no education or did not have a college education, let's say. That was a ticket for them that automatically made them more qualified to make decisions on your behalf. And it's a strange mentality, right? But it's something that you see continuously come up over and over again. So the landslide counties, I think, is pretty telling because looking down on people and, really being just pushing negativity that started to, I think, push this trend. But let's listen to what he has coming up here.
Country. I just want to show you them here. One is Hyde Park, Chicago. This is upscale. This is where Barack Obama's from. High median income. Everyone has a college degree, a high school degree. Look at this. More than 3/4 have a postgraduate degree in this precinct. Harris wins it overwhelmingly. Other side of the.
So he made a point of picking a precinct that just statistically had very, very high college graduation rates, advanced degree rates, had a higher median income, showing that, oh, look, Harris won this, right, 94-6. Now watch the next precinct that he uses. And keep in mind, we saw 1,200 precincts that were, a massive divide of 50% or more. And here he's picking two extremes and yet representing them on the program as this is the norm that we're dealing with. When from a social class and from a education standpoint, that may not be the case. I feel like the way they're portraying this is almost invalidating. Watch what comes up here with West Virginia.
Divide here. Take a look here. This is Panther, West Virginia, McDowell Colony, one of the poorest in the country. You can see here, not even half the residents with a high school diploma, nobody with a college degree here, and Donald Trump wins this by 92 points. Totally, totally far apart. If there's one silver lining maybe we could see when it comes to polarization, though, just quickly, it is this. There is less overall racial polarization coming out of this election. Go back.
Okay, so interesting point. And I've been saying this quite a bit. So you saw the characterization, right, that they made between education and how, like, oh, the people that are smart or whatever, according to how their conventional wisdom works, look at the way that they went. The folks that don't have an education look at the way they went. I think completely. I mean, it just shows you the level of narcissism that's happening out there, right? But of course, then this one is interesting because they've talked about race being a key driver between, who's voting for what. But clearly now they have to recognize that that divide is, kind of narrowing at this point. And when you start factoring in, well, why is that? It's because people are not doing well. At the end of the day, a lot of these superficial things like that stop mattering when, inflation hits. People don't have money to get groceries and so forth. And so they're not going to talk about that, but they're just citing it as like a one-off, right?
Back to 2016.
I wouldn't be surprised if they even credited Biden with helping kind of close this gap, right?
Trump won white voters by 20. Clinton back then won non-white by 53. That was a 73-point gap. This time, 15-31. The racial gap narrowed this election. Donald Trump did much better with Latino voters, Asian American voters. We do have less racial polarization, but we still overall, Kristen, obviously have a ton of polarization.
Yeah, the numbers really tell the tale of just how divided we are. Steve Kornacki, thank you so much. And joining me now are the only two ordained ministers in the Senate, Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock of Georgia and Republican Senator James.
All right, so I don't know if this was the what made it a special edition, having these two guys on here or what have you, but the way they introed it, I mean, again, they didn't talk about last week at all. They didn't talk about the debt, not the debt ceiling, excuse me, the continuing resolution getting passed, or government shutdown being impending. Wasn't mentioned at all. They didn't talk about any of the cabinet selections. They just steered clear of that, and they hit on the theme of, hey, we're really divided. Wouldn't be great if we were not. And of course, then they invite the two folks that are ordained ministers from both sides of the aisle and try to have some sort of a unity type discussions at this point, right? So that's how they started off. How did Face the Nation start off?
Why? Hill, an omen of what?
Family by the fire, listening to Mariah sing.
Disrupt the way Washington works. Nudging Congress to do their work is technically still President Biden's job. But it was Trump and Musk calling the shots by social media last week. They didn't get all of what they wanted, but will the drama prove to be a preview of what's to come within the GOP in 2025?
I noticed that she's talked, will the drama be a preview of what's up to come? So that has been typically the norm on Meet the Press as well, portraying Trump's presidency as being like a reality show, right? So CBS has been a very liberal network for a very long time. Famously, Dan Rather was caught, pushing a story on George W. Bush that was completely fabricated. The documents were completely fabricated, and he had to apologize, and effectively led to his resignation way back when. But they're going down the normal path. So again, characterizing the Trump presidency as being full of drama or upcoming drama here.
Talk with two House Republicans, Arkansan French Hill and Texan Tony Gonzalez. Then outgoing Homeland Security Chief Alejandro Mayorkas weighs in on extremism and the immigration crisis. And West Virginia Independent Joe Manchin reflects on his 14 years in the Senate as he leaves office, with advice for both parties going forward. Finally, an update on the new efforts to locate journalist Austin Tice, who's been missing in Good morning and welcome to
I'm actually curious what she talked to Tony Gonzalez about. I'm going to watch it for a minute here. I just picked up the opening monologues of the shows. So let's see what she talks to Tony Gonzalez about.
Face the Nation. We are just
Because I think he actually voted against the proposals that Trump put out there.
3 days away from Christmas and the start of Hanukkah. Congress has gone home, but is last week's chaos on Capitol Hill an omen of what is ahead in 2025? Texas Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez is here in studio to answer that. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Margaret. Thanks for having me.
So we just saw turmoil within the party over the past few days after President-elect Trump and Elon Musk scuttled this bipartisan deal, then demanded another deal that couldn't get enough Republican support to get over the finish line. Then we have this emergency stopgap measure that only takes us through mid-March. You were one of 34 Republicans to vote against it. Why?
It's pretty simple. My constituents were against the CR just as much as I was against the CR. It's been a tough week, though. It started with a tragic shooting in Madison, Wisconsin. I've worked in a very bipartisan manner to make sure we have a national strategy that prevents against some of the school shootings that are occurring. I've been working with others to get that done. I think that's important. And then in the House, of course, we had this messy bill that was put on the floor. It started with a 1,500-page bill. In my eyes, there's no doubt that there's a sickness in D.C., and that sickness isn't going to be cured with these big, long, pork-filled bills. You do got to give President Trump a lot of credit, though. He was able to whittle that down to 116 pages. Once again, the reason I voted no is I think CRs are terrible. They do nothing but kick the can down the road. Let's fast forward to March. Do you think we're going to be any closer to coming up with a spending deal then than we are now? I don't think so.
But if the government had shut down, the Border Patrol agents who live in your district wouldn't have received paychecks.
Right. That's why we should have done our job instead of just saying, hey, give us 3 more months, and I promise you in 3 months we're going to do our job. I mean, we've ran that play before.
Yeah.
In my eyes, you use Christmas, you use New Year's, you lock everybody in a room, and you say, let's get it done now. There's also a bigger danger to this, too, is if we're not funding the government long term, now all of a sudden you're telling the government you have to spend a year's worth of money in 6 months or 3 months. That's not fair to any of these agencies as well. So basically, it was a vote on my end to say, let's do our job.
Right, which the Republicans who are in leadership had failed to get some of those bills done. In fact,
So interesting. She has somebody on the show that did not vote in favor of Trump's proposal, and it's almost like leading with her questions, right? Like, so the Republican leadership failed, right? And setting him up to make some remarks that are counter to his own party. I remember Margaret Brennan when she was on CNBC, was a correspondent. I don't remember what her specific subject area was that she focused on, but I had no idea that she would become so partisan. All right, so let's see if she tries to lock up Tony Gonzalez here.
Speaker Johnson chose to go this route with the CR. But I want to ask you about the dynamic here because it's confusing, frankly. I mean, Elon Musk is tweeting against bipartisan deals negotiated and led by the Speaker of the House. What role exactly is he playing here?
It's kind of interesting. We have a president, we have a vice president, we have a speaker. It feels like as if Elon Musk is our prime minister. And I
All right, so this is interesting. I guess they found the right Republican to speak to. So it's a thin margin in the House that the Republicans have. I didn't know they would have folks like this, especially from Texas, that would speak so negatively about Musk or about anything around the Trump administration, especially since it's just forming right now and it's just getting going. So this level of disunity being visible already, I don't know if it's isolated with just him or if it's a little bit more widespread. I mean, they did say they had 38 people or so that voted against the version that Trump had put out there Trump supported. But let's see if he comes up with some more stuff here.
I spoke with Elon a couple of times this week. I think many of us
Unelected.
Well, unelected, but I mean, he has a voice, and I think large part of that voice is a reflection of the voice of the people. Once again, a 1,500-page bill, how does that pass the smell test? It's absolutely wrong.
Interesting. So he kind of did a 180 there, all of a sudden coming back to the initial bill that was put out there, 1,500 pages. It's probably going to talk about the short turnaround time frame to have to go to vote, and how people were calling them out on it. Elon famously in his tweet, did he realize that he just kind of put his foot in his mouth there for a second? Which, good job, Margaret. You got him. But let's see if that was the case, or he's just, I don't know. Is he just talking out of both sides of his mouth here?
It's what's wrong with this place. So we have to get back to regular order. The other part of it, too, is while House Republicans were fighting over this spending bill, guess what Senate Democrats were doing? They were ensuring that President Biden got his 235th liberal judge over the finish line. That's why it's so important that House Republicans stay united, stay laser focused on delivering on a President Trump agenda next year.
Interesting. He's talking about unity and everything. How did we get to this 180 he just did? I mean, it happened in an instant, right? He's got an earpiece in there. Somebody said, "We're going to primary you. Fix your message here quick." Or did he shoot from the hip initially, and then he remembered the talking points that were handed to him? I don't know what happened. I'll just watch a couple more minutes, then we'll move on.
But Republicans in the House are clearly not united. And it was Speaker Johnson who led that bipartisan deal. Do you support him if he's standing for re-election? Should he still lead the party if you're saying he was leading in the wrong direction with a 15-page initial funding deal?
Yeah, and I do support Speaker Johnson. I think he's done a fantastic job keeping us all together. It's like feral cats on the House, right? So that's a tough job to begin with. But the fact that he was able to work with President Trump in order to whittle it down to a little over 100 pages, the fact that he was able to work with with Elon Musk and some of these other folks, other members, to find a solution just goes to prove that he's found a way. But this can't be the norm. This cannot be the norm. Once again, that's the reason why I voted against the CR is this cannot be the norm. We have to get back to regular order.
I don't know. Some politicians, I feel like they're all about a performance. They just get up there and, they have the message that's been prescribed. They've looked at it. They've approved it. They think it's something that'll resonate with people, and they deliver it. They're good at that. But without a solid foundation of this is what I believe and this is what, I bring to the table, maybe you do a 180 like you just did here. I don't know. I don't know Tony Gonzalez very well. Remains to be seen, but a little disappointed as to how this thing just, kind of flipped around all of a sudden. I don't think it was just Margaret Brennan's line of questioning, although that did contribute. But I don't know. Overall, not a great performance. Let's move on to Velshi here. This guy's a real gem. Yeah, look at that.
And to vote for Johnson.
It's over with the Democrats, but
and they may need the Democrats' help in order to get anything done in the next Congress. Because, as Axios points out, quote, for the first time in modern history, the House majority will rest on thinner margins than the Senate's in the 119th Congress. But there are members of the GOP who don't want to work with Democrats at all, and they're trying to suppress dissent within their own party.
I wish we could say all of the trouble was over with the Democrats, but we've seen how a few people with R's behind their name are trying to actually hurt.
So are they talking about Tony Gonzalez here? Is that what just happened, or folks that were part of that 38? They are calling him out. I do think it's very early on to break away from the party and try to take a stance on something, which unfortunately they usually do out of political purposes, not necessarily out of principle or out of disagreement on a given topic. But notice the tone Ali Velshi is taking here, and the track that NBC News took with Meet the Press, completely divergent. They used to be in lockstep when Chuck Todd was leading Meet the Press. these two networks were basically in lockstep around the content they presented. And I think Comcast is now concerned that it's going to hurt, the core brand around NBC News. And so they're not, I don't know, maybe it is intentional just to absolutely have completely polar opposite, points that are brought up on the programs. I don't know. So let's see what other interesting stuff Ali Velshi is going to bring to the table here.
We the people, as we go into this next era where America First policies are going to be implemented to make our life better once again. And we need to bring down those obstructionists and help President Trump. Are you up for that?
We don't need partisanship now. We need hyper-partisanship now. The conversation is over.
Last week's near-government shutdown has also called into question the future.
So, very short clip, could have been easily taken out of context. I haven't seen the whole clip, but in reality, or in all likelihood, when he says we need hyper-partisanship, could that just be a signal to say, like, we need to really kind of come together and work in lockstep here? Like, we need to get some things going here in the first 100 days. Is that what he's referencing? Like, hey, let's just push our agenda through. These are things that we made commitments on. I don't know. This can be easily taken out of context there, right? So, again, he said, 10 words, and they're presenting it here as the reason that there's disunity in the country is because of, and then he gives you your example.
Of the Republican Party's congressional leadership. Even though the House GOP conference nominated Mike Johnson for Speaker just a month ago, the past week has left him with a bruised ego and an uncertain future. At least one Republican congressman, Thomas Massey of Kentucky, has said in the past week that he does not intend to vote for Johnson when the full House holds the speakership election at the beginning of the new year. There's some thought that Mike Johnson may need some Democratic votes to win re-election as Speaker after the debacle 2 years ago that saw Kevin McCarthy win after 15 rounds of voting and then be unseated by a member of his own Republican conference. Johnson can only afford to lose a few if he wants to keep the gavel. Meanwhile, congressional Republicans will also have to figure out how to work with Trump and his allies like Elon Musk, who was a key figure in throwing Capitol Hill into chaos last week. Plus, the president-elect's failed last-minute demand.
One tweet or one post, right? 240 characters threw them into chaos. And I just don't think that the politicians are accustomed to getting called out so publicly. I mean, that's the bottom line of it, right? Less than 12 hours, 1,500 pages to review. It's absurd. I'm glad that it did happen like that. I am disappointed that 38 folks dissented so vocally on the Republican side. They could have gotten together and talked about it. There was plenty of time to do that. I mean, we're talking about, 3-4 days or what have you. You can get together and work through this, right? I mean, when you're an elected official like that, you're on the clock. To me, you're 24/7. So if it's 9, 10, 11 p.m. at night, go have the conversation. Go fix things.
And for Congress to raise or even eliminate the debt ceiling was a reminder that Republicans still have some fundamental disagreements on policy and procedure that's continuing to drive a wedge within the party. Some Republicans are already beginning to publicly voice their concerns about how difficult things could get as they prepare to take over Washington, with more spending bills and the issue of the debt ceiling looming on the horizon. The Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska put it this way, quote, "When you have challenges in your own organization from the very get-go, nobody said it's going to be easy. Next year is going to be challenging," end quote. Joining me now, Jennifer Rubin, opinion writer for The Washington Post and an MSNBC political analyst, also author of the book Resistance: How Women Saved Democracy from Donald Trump. Joining us as well, Stuart Stevens, senior advisor for the Lincoln Project, founding partner of Resolute Square, and author of the book The Conspiracy to End America: 5 Ways.
I mean, these are some real gems. The conspiracy to end America, really? Like, are you sure that's the America First policy? Like, you sure about that? So he's got some real gems coming up here that are going to, of course, give you a very holistic view of the world, right? This is why MSNBC's ratings are dropping. You heard the way he began things. Was very negative about Trump, about the Republicans in general, was trying to make a case about weakness in the party. But a lot of this stuff is blown out of proportion, right? A lot of it is conjecture. A lot of it's, just to air some sound bites that they could play on, play on social media or other places to try to attract more viewers and so forth. But it's not working for them, though, right? So, Vel, she's a no bueno. Let's see what George has to talk about here. If it is him, I don't think he's in there this week, is he?
If found guilty of the mall, there were some initial reports.
Just hours before a shutdown.
We're grateful. We'll cover all the fallout
here we go.
from the shutdown showdown. Plus, John has exclusive interviews with two lawmakers, Democratic Senator John Fetterman and Republican Senator-elect John Curtis. This week,
I think thank you to Lust over there on YouTube. And hey guys on YouTube, I need some likes. Give me some likes so we can help get some circulation here.
Christmas crisis averted. Speaker Johnson finds a way to fund the government just hours before a shutdown.
We're grateful that everyone stood together to do the right thing.
This is a victory for the American people. The deal does not include the one thing Donald Trump demanded.
The president's right to want to get rid of the debt ceiling, but we're right to say not without spending cuts.
It's a temporary fix, setting up another showdown at the start of Trump's second term.
We are set up for a big and important new start in January.
As Congress contends with the Elon Musk factor.
Everybody agreed, and then it was blown up by Elon Musk.
Last time I checked, Elon Musk doesn't have a vote in Congress.
This morning, we have the fallout. Rachel Bade on what looms next on Capitol Hill. Chris Christie and the roundtable on Musk and Trump. Plus,
so are you going to be Donald Trump's favorite Democrat in the Senate?
Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman on how he'll work with Trump in the next Congress. And
I did get more votes than him in Utah. Does that give me a mandate?
Our conversation with incoming Senator John Curtis, who hopes for Trump's success, but is not afraid to defy him.
From ABC News, it's This Week. Here now, Jonathan Karl.
Good morning. Welcome to This Week. If you were watching Congress this week, you might have thought for a moment that Donald Trump is already president. Along with his most high-profile and wealthiest advisor, Trump upended a bipartisan spending deal that had been months in the making. But the power of a president-elect, just like the power of a president, only goes so far. And while Trump's hold on the Republican Party is not in doubt, we saw that his power to get Congress to do what he wants has its limits. As Congress veered towards a shutdown, Trump made only one non-negotiable demand. He said that the bill to keep the government open must also increase or abolish the so-called debt ceiling. That's the amount the federal government can borrow to pay its bills. Without this, Trump said on social media, we should never make a deal. And this wasn't just advice, it came with a warning that he might campaign against Republicans who dared to defy him. Trump declaring any Republican that would be so stupid as to do this.
All right, so you hear his tone already. I mean, forget the content, but you hear his tone as he's quoting Trump, really emphasizing when he says "stupid," right in the text that he's reading through. Again, this network is very liberal. If you go to Ground News, and I got a link in the pinned chat there, you go to Ground News, you could kind of clearly see the level of factuality, the bias, look it up by network, by news agency, and get like a full picture of things, right? You can look at the government shutdown and it'll give you a much more holistic perspective on what's going on from both sides. But this here, I mean, clearly for me, he started off on the wrong foot. I'm not taking him seriously at this point. It's pretty clear that this is an agenda that he has, that he's kind of pushing through, right? Yeah. So Fright Club, it's exactly what's happening is they're leading us to tear ourselves apart. Meet the Press, interestingly enough, had more of a unity kind of message I think it's more of a business decision because they're trying to, separate themselves from MSNBC. But this, this is kind of ridiculous. The level of, I don't know, the level of toxicity that he's kind of like talking about Trump here. So he goes on, though. Let's see.
Should and will be primaried. And even with that, 38 Republicans defied their president-elect. They were either unworried about his warning or simply didn't take it seriously. And
Defying their president-elect, right? Yeah, we are in this together. That's absolutely right. And yet, folks like this, unfortunately, I think the name of the game for many years now in news has been to kind of sow division, right? This is how they've kind of gone about things. I want to get back to more old school reporting. I wish Tim Russert were still around. He famously would tell people, like, I don't vote because I don't want to, put my mind in that partisan stance. My job is, I take it seriously. It is to bring light to these topics and these perspectives on people. Nobody does that anymore, at least not to that same degree. So, I mean, and clearly the smirk on his face right now, I think, is perfect, right? Because he thinks he's got you. He thinks he's pulled one over on you, but here, watch. Especially with the comment on the 38. Like, oh, there's 38 people that were against Trump. Look.
170 Republicans, along with almost all of the Democrats, approved a bill to temporarily fund the government without raising the debt ceiling. Again, defying Trump's demand. Trump had very good reason to insist on raising or eliminating the debt ceiling. The government is on pace to hit the limit on how much it can borrow next spring. And if it is not raised, the government faces default with dire consequences for the economy and for the Trump agenda. This week proved he won't be able to count on Republicans alone to avert that disaster.
A couple of comments here. Wasn't like this in the 90s and 2000s. Totally agree. I mean, there were some indications of the political lean of some folks, but it was nowhere near this crazy. They at least tried their best to be a journalist. It's not even a thing anymore, right? Ghost Town says they voted for a celebrity billionaire. Yeah, that's a true statement. He was a celebrity and he is a billionaire. Almost 1,500-page bill with bloat and all sorts. And, they were given, less than half of a day to have reviewed it and voted on it then at that point? I mean, didn't that happen with Obamacare also? That they put the bill out there and it was tens of thousands of pages in length and nobody even had time? So anyway, let's see how he continues here.
One casualty of this shutdown mess may be the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. He tried to do Trump's bidding and he failed, hurting his standing with the president-elect and with at least some of his Republican colleagues. Will he be reelected as Speaker when Congress reconvenes on January 3rd?
I don't think so. I don't think he's hurt his standing at all. I mean, you saw him at the Army-Navy game, standing there right with Trump. There's procedural activities that he has to follow through on as Speaker. I mean, I don't think there's anything amiss with what he's doing as far as Trump's priorities. I mean, there's just no way. This is not Paul Ryan that we're talking about, right?
With a minuscule Republican majority, that could take a minor miracle. On the show this morning, we'll hear from a Republican who defied Trump on the debt ceiling and who will take the seat held by Mitt Romney in the Senate come January. We'll also hear from the man who may well become Donald Trump's only Democratic friend in the Senate. I'm joined now by ABC News contributing political correspondent and Politico Capitol Bureau Chief Rachel Bade. So, Rachel...
Did you see that expression on her face? I got to rewind this. She's like so satisfied with herself after he read off those titles. Like, yep, that's me. And the reason I noticed that is because this level of narcissism is continuous on the side of the left. I just showed y'all a clip of, I think he was a professor, adjunct professor at some university that was really, hammering Trump voters after the election, saying, if you're mad about inflation, go get a better job. If you're mad about inflation, go get an education, right? And you're like, what the heck's wrong with this guy, right? So there's this idea of, I've got an education, that means my vote is more valid than yours. That means my perspective, that means me personally, I am more valid, more important than you are. This is the mindset that's kind of going through. And so her expression said it all to me, right?
Why did so
Let's see.
who may well become Donald Trump's
Just watch
only
close as she
Democratic
gets
friend
announced
in
or
the Senate?
introduced.
I'm joined now by ABC News contributing political correspondent and Politico Capitol Bureau Chief Rachel Bade. So, Rachel.
Do you see how she threw her nose up in the air? I mean, seriously, right? It's ridiculous. All right, so went through the Sunday morning shows. All of them hammered on the same, sort of theme. But Meet the Press was divergent, and I think, this is my opinion, though. All this stuff's my opinion, right? Just brain dump that runs through my head. But I feel like maybe it is correlated to MSNBC's performance and the need to kind of separate those two brands so that they don't have the same fate fall to NBC News that they did with MSNBC. All right. Some other interesting stuff before we get to the Turning Point USA thing. So we had the tragic holiday market or Christmas market event in Germany. I won't go too deep into the details of that. I'm sure everybody's kind of read about that or heard about it at this point. Actually, let me check out what's going on here. Fight Club. I've been a Republican since 2012 when they bathed the White House. Gotcha. All right, so we've all heard about the stuff going on in Germany here. There's a cultural issue here, right, that's going on, and the need to address it has been accelerated by this, all right? This was bizarre to me.
Und ich schlage zum Kopf.
Okay, well, they're speaking in German, right? But this is a self-defense class, and they're showing you if somebody's coming at you with that object that they were holding, what do you do in terms of self-defense? And he's just throwing a towel around, right? Yeah, Fight Club. I mean, that's some, or Fright Club, excuse me. That's absolutely ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. I don't think anybody should be made to feel bad or poorly about themselves for, race or any of those types of things. I mean, I take the Morgan Freeman approach on it, where he's famously if you want it to kind of go away, then stop talking about it, right? Then stop saying that this is the reason for everything that happens in the world. So you saw the self-defense, right? Like you yourself cannot take proper action to defend yourself. And at the same Christmas market, they were going, the incident happened, and now you have major protests going on. There is an absolute uproar, which is probably appropriate given the situation. So I think that's a thing to kind of keep an eye on, is how the politics and elections go there. Going on. Hey, what's going on, Bilal? Fight Club. My best friends are of all races. You work in construction, speak some Spanish, have African American friends. Yeah, so I mean, it's we just got to be normal people, right? We can't. Our goal in life is not to find somebody to make bad so that I can feel good. You know what I mean? So sorry you've had to go through that. All right, so in our last, in episode number 20 of Political ASMR, we walk through the Wall Street Journal article that went completely unnoticed by mainstream media, and it really hasn't been highlighted by anyone. I go in depth on it in the last live stream that basically outlined how every single staff member, person in the White House knew that Joe Biden was impaired, and not just impaired, but significantly impaired. And they went to great lengths, his advisors and everybody else. They went through great lengths on trying to understand what it is that, oh, hang on here. Adrian, I don't know if you've touched on this a bit, but news on the drones. You know, I've read through a lot of the drone stuff, and I don't know why I keep running into these conspiracy traps, and then they kind of like stop. I'm like, okay, this is not it. I have not found anything that I think is significant in terms of it being like material that I'd want to like kind of put out there, right? I feel like I'd be like fringe if I put some of this stuff out there. I haven't run through anything that I guess like I said, that is material that's any different than what's being put out there already. I've looked at it a bit. I've asked my AI to go do some summaries and to go look into various sources. I haven't uncovered anything different than what's been put out there already. I am interested if Trump makes a more official, formal statement on it when he is president, because right now he technically cannot deem what is classified versus not. But once he is president, that's his discretion. I'm interested if he'll kind of clear the air once he is president. But I don't know. I looked at a lot of videos. The videos look interesting and stuff. A lot of them are very blurry though to me. I just could not make, lock in on a specific story behind it that I felt like I could, kind of share a different take. You know what I mean? So I don't have a whole lot on the drone piece. So last time we talked about like I was saying, the Wall Street Journal article went into great lengths about how the Biden administration, the advisors, everybody effectively helped cover for Biden's inadequacies, right? They covered for his. And hey, guys, if you're in the live stream right now on YouTube, give the live a like. I'd really appreciate it. It's helping me a lot. It's helping kind of get more circulation from last time. It doesn't seem like a whole lot, but you get like maybe 20, 30, 40 likes. It makes a big, big difference. So I appreciate it, guys. They lost a nuke. I have not heard that. I've not heard that. Fright Club, where did you see that? So the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, famously went on 60 Minutes and spoke to Biden being super competent, way before the debacle that unfolded at the debates and everything else that has followed, right? And so it shows like he was even covering for this in a lot of cases, as the insiders in the Biden administration have revealed. Biden did not have regular standing meetings with these senior advisors that you typically would have as a president. And so he talks about engagements and meetings that they had. Were they really happening? It seems like it was all superficial at this point. So let me play this here.
I would just tell you that I meet frequently with the president, and every single time I meet with him, he is just fine. How people interpret that is up to them, but I engage with him frequently and alert, sound, does his homework, reads the papers, reads all the read-ahead material, and is very, very engaging in issues of very serious matters of war and peace and life and death. So if the American people are worried about an individual who is someone who's making decisions of war and peace and has access to, makes the decisions of nuclear weapons and that sort of thing, I think they can rest easy.
So, telling the public that they can rest easy, Biden is super confident. Remember, Joe Scarborough famously said this was the best version of Biden ever. I've had dreams since I was a child. You could see several years into the future. It's usually nothing important. The moments happen as deja vu. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Maybe you should put some of that stuff out there as make some videos and stuff out of it. YouTube Joe Bot, really? Interesting. So he's clearly getting called out now on his misstatements because, as is being indicated, Joe Biden's hours got reduced. Remember, Karine in one of the daily briefings said, his best hours are between like 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's like, wait a minute, you only work during that tight of a time frame, and the leaders are global and they're in different time zones. How do you interact with them? How do you engage with them? What's going on here, right? Anyway, all right. So a break from some politics to some absurdity. I'll let you. Sorry. Sorry, guys. It gets me every time. But I just let you read the post this person put on the X platform, and let you listen to this this individual talk about the partner they're looking for.
I'm looking for a man who's at least 6'1", brown eyes, big nose, thick curly hair, hairy, just like furry, just like a carpet on his chest. Not a Zionist, from a Baba culture, Muslim or open to converting.
I don't even know where to begin with that one, but I don't think I am. Is what it is. Some people just find out the hard way. I don't know. Leave it at that. So Turning Point USA, really great speaker lineup. Just kind of unfolded yesterday, or excuse me, today. No, sorry. We're already on Monday now. It is political ASMR, right? So we're already on Monday, but on Sunday, they had a great lineup of speakers. Yeah, Adrian, I don't even know what to say about that last one. I'm dumbfounded. The depths of the internet never fail to amaze me. And that dude was totally serious. So Tom Homan, I've got a clip a little bit later. I hope I didn't pass that clip, did I? No, I didn't. Wait, did I? No, I didn't. Let me see if I can find that. I feel like I passed the clip. Hang on, guys. Hang on a second. Where are we at? Oh, no. Let me pull up a bookmark here. Hang on.
The name Audra. I think 2020.
So this lady's remarks to a city council in California. I think there's more and more people after what they've experienced over the past 4 years in terms of immigration. They're coming out and being more public about this. You look at some of those city council meetings in Chicago. Oh my gosh, they're off the rails. And the mayor's name is Brandon, right? So I'm just PoliticalCow on X. Here, let me pull it. If you look at my bio, I have a link tree on there, and it has a link to all my socials. So this is me on X. So yeah, this is my link tree also. And guys, if you go to politicalcow.com, all of the stream notes, I just publish them there. Not terribly fancy, but it's basically what you're seeing on screen here. I just put all the notes on there so that I don't have to go back and remember where I got things from. People in control are drunk on power. That is true. That's why we need term limits, I think. Alex, You live by the border. I used to live in San Diego County. San Ysidro was not that far away. Hey, appreciate it, Adrian. I appreciate it. Let me close this up. All right, so this lady, I think, you watch the Chicago City Council meetings, a lot of these cities that are out there, and the same sentiment is being expressed over and over again. Very tired about the policies, about tax dollars being diverted from citizens towards other programs. I'll play it here.
25 is going to be pretty exciting. Because when you guys say "fuck you" to the federal government, they're going to say "fuck you" too. Because you guys think that you don't like what we do, but you're going to have a sore awakening when the federal government comes after you for aiding and abetting, and they're going to be like, you get a jail cell, 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 you get a jail cell. Probably all of you guys too. So it's going to be actually really exciting. And I bet you guys are terrified, but you're going to continue to go down this same path of, with your UN agenda. It's going to be great to see it all unfold and unravel and be flushed down the toilet like the pure water you want us to drink. It's good. It's going to be fantastic because Tom Homan is going to come after you. And then my gavel broke. It's good.
So, all right, let's go to Tom Homan's speech, but there's way more. Hey, appreciate it, Alex. Appreciate that. Combo breaker. What was that? Was that Killer Instinct? Is that what that's from? I feel like that's what that's from. That's like old school. That's really old school now. So I've shown it on live streams in the past. I should take some of those clips and post them as shorts, but it's unbelievable how the population is absolutely turned. Yeah, the broken gavel. That's absolutely a metaphor just sitting in there somehow. It was Killer Instinct. Yep. Who did I play? I think I hated playing against that dinosaur guy. I didn't like the dinosaur guy. I don't remember their names at all. I can't remember the names. I don't even know who I played as at this point. I just remember that dinosaur guy would always get on my nerves. Whoever played that thing. Anyway. All right, yeah. Thanks, Fright Club. My memory is working to some degree here. But Tom Homan, amazing remarks at Turning Point. And in fact, any appearance he makes at this point, I just love watching him. I've said this many times. If there's any job you want to get done, this is the guy you bring in to get the job done.
How you doing? So look, if I offend anybody today, I don't care. Some of the media says I'm offensive. I'm okay with that. If I get to live in their minds rent-free, that's kind of cool. Hey, look, for the last 3.5 years, I wake up every morning pissed off about what this administration did. It's the most secure border in my lifetime. I've worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan. And every president I worked for took steps to secure the border because they understood you can't have strong national security if you don't have border security. We didn't know who's coming in, what's coming in, where it's coming in. No one was better than President Trump. He was one badass president who secured the border at unprecedented levels. Illegal immigration at a 45-year low. Illegal immigration down 83 to 90%. Extraordinary work. Joe Biden is the first president in history of this nation who came into office and unsecured a border on purpose. Not by mismanagement, not by incompetence. They unsecured a border by design.
That, I think, is a critical statement, by design, which I don't think people kind of focus in on that. They did this by design, right? Jonathan, oh no, not Turning Point. Yeah, it's Turning Point, but I'm more interested in the speaker. the by design aspect is, I think, very critical because they later on flip-flopped, right? And as the election was getting near, started implementing strategies that were already employed by Trump. And then you look again now, more recently, the election's over, Trump won. And what are they doing? They're actually selling the steel for those border walls, pennies on the dollar, which, is kind of petty. Like, why would you do that? But the part that I don't like is what's going to happen once Trump's in office? What are they going to do? They're going to order more. They're going to buy more of that steel. Where does that money come from? It's from our taxpayer money, right? So they're being petty and using our tax dollars to act out or to lash out. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that the whole process that's unfolding there with that. And I mean, as Tom Homan's talking, this was by design. Elon Musk got a lot of heat when he talked about how immigration impacts elections. And everybody's like, oh, well, they can't vote. Only citizens can vote. It's illegal to vote in every state. But what he was really emphasizing that didn't get enough circulation was that when you take the census, the question that gets asked is, count the residents in a given state. And the Democrats pushed to not ask for residency status. And so if a given state has more residents or what have you, they get a higher allocation of electoral votes. And over time, that will disproportionately benefit those locations that, have more people that may have, come across the border illegally. And so that was the aspect that Musk was really hitting on, wanted to make visible to folks. But, he got beat up, called all kinds of names, and that aspect of it got lost. But when Homan's talking about by design, the by design has a lot of different pieces to it, right? Alex is shameful, yeah. Fright Club says in the 2024 election. King says, I miss the days when people were able to talk and there wasn't any corporate influence in government and government wasn't lobbying. Yeah, so the dynamic duo for me is term limits and getting money out of politics. Money out of politics, of course, means two things. Lobbying is a big one, and then stop letting them do the insider trading thing. I mean, that's just as bad. All right, let's let Tom continue.
The first day I smiled when President Trump won this election. I woke up the next morning, I was happy. I smiled for the first time in a long time. Then I got angry again. Because even though they lost the election, they're still moving thousands of illegal aliens in this country every day. CBP One app still running. They're selling pieces of the border wall, for God's sakes, that you, the American taxpayers, paid for at a hefty price, and now we got buyed again. There is no smooth transition. They're going to destroy this country up to the last day they're in the Oval Office. But I got news for them, January 20th, the greatest president in my lifetime is going to walk into the Oval Office and take this country back. President Trump called me a few Fridays ago and says, okay, you've been bitching about the border for 4 years. You want to come fix it? I said, absolutely. I'm back. I got to learn how to retire. This is the second time I got unretired to come back for this president. But I love this president because he loves this country. I love this president because he wants to secure the border. I love this president because the securing the border saves lives. What Joe Biden did by unsecuring the border is this. Sex trafficking, up over 600%. Known as suspected terrorists, people on the terrorist watch list, well over 300 apprehended. President Trump, in 4 years, we had 13. We ended catch-release. Joe Biden's released at least 8 million illegal aliens in this country in violation of federal law. And I said it before, for the millions of illegal aliens that have been released in this country in violation of federal law, you're going home, and Tom Homan's going to make sure that happens.
So it's going to be an interesting showdown when Homan and his federal agents show up to any given city, and you've already had. I don't think it was Denver. It was another city in Colorado. Maybe it was Denver, but he had an interview, and he said that openly that he would defy and resist any orders that were given to him by the federal government, by Tom Homan. You saw the lady in California there that was talking to her city council. There's a lot of these city councils that have openly said that they will defy any federal agency looking for for folks that are to be deported. That'll be an interesting showdown at that point. Like what's going to start happening? How they handle the very first instance of that, I think, will be it will set the precedent as to how everyone else responds. And so I am going to predict that Tom Homan will take it very seriously, and the first person that defies is going to pay a hefty price. And I mean that they'll probably, arrest them. They will probably, kind of show everybody like, hey, this is the consequence of, not working with us. The lady before mentioned a bunch of different, I don't even remember all of the charges and stuff that are potentially applicable here, but it's going to be interesting. And this might be one of those day one type activities that unfolds.
Think about it.
So Jonathan says a border wall is easily bypassed with a ladder. I don't think that, he just mentioned 8 million people. I don't think 8 million would be up for scaling. How tall are those things? Like 50 feet or something? Maybe more? I don't think they'd be up for scaling something like that. And I don't think that many people would be able to so rapidly come across if there was such a structure in place. They've shown videos of people, being acrobatic and stuff, but like, really, can everybody do that? They just found a couple of daredevils that can run up and down it real quick, but it's not something that's going to work for everybody. Says the temporarily embarrassed millionaire. All right. Let's see. What's the next one here? King says, I kind of wish donations didn't. Oh, wait. Care, but we have to see what happens going forward. There's the judge action. Yeah, actions will be what judge thinks. Money, it's a drag. Money's our last true freedom. Money makes the world spin, whether for good or bad. All right, let's keep going with Tom Homan here.
From what they did, they created the biggest national security vulnerability this nation's ever seen. I already said they arrested over 300 people on the terrorist watch list. Well, there's over 2 million known gotaways. Why did 2 million people pay more to get away? Why didn't they pay less to be turned over to the Border Patrol, be released within 24 hours, get a free airline ticket to the city of their choice, get a free hotel room at $500 a night, get 3 square meals a day, get free medical attention, and get work authorization within 120 days? Why did they pay more not to take advantage of this free giveaway program? Because they didn't want to be vetted. They didn't want to be fingerprinted. These are your gang members. These are the ones carrying fentanyl across the border. And these are people from terrorist-related countries. After 9/11, we created all these databases. You got the FBI screening database. You got the DOD intel database. You got the visa security program, which stopped thousands of people from getting a visa to come to the United States like the terrorists of 9/11 did. So we vet them now, and we vet through the process. You don't get a visa if we find derogatory information in your background. But what terrorist today is going to put himself in a position to ask for a visa or ask for an airline ticket when he can simply go to Mexico and be a part of that 2 million getaway? I don't know how many terrorists cross this border under Joe Biden, but someday we're going to find out. And it's going to be a bad day for America. When that happens, we're going to have one badass president in the White House, and that's Donald Trump, who's going to make sure we respond appropriately. People always ask me why I take this so seriously. And people say, Tom Homan's a racist, Tom Homan's a national. Say whatever you want. I don't give a shit. Why do I care? I care because I stood in the back of a tractor trailer with 19 dead aliens that suffocated and baked to death, including a 5-year-old little boy that died in his father's arms. Throughout my career, I've seen tragedies, held dying children. I've seen dead aliens on the trail. I've talked to little girls as young as 9 years old that were raped multiple times by criminal cartels. They're animals. When you look into a little girl's eyes, 9 years old, who had adults take everything innocent and pure from her, you look in those eyes, and those eyes have no life in them. Her life will never be the same. That's what pisses me off, because President Trump had us locked down. He had it locked down. And this administration came in and unlocked it. People die on the border every day. Women are sex trafficked in this country every day. That's why I'm pissed off. And that's why the best day of my life was President Trump getting reelected to save lives. A secure border saves lives. It isn't rocket science. I get fired up all over again.
I just want to recognize Charlie Sheen and thank him for being a part of the live.
You Trump, Trump, Trump. That's right. President Trump's going to make this country safe again. President Trump's going to make our border great again. President Trump's going to decrease illegal migrant crime at unprecedented rates, because out of the gate, day one, we're going to focus on public safety threats and national security threats. They're first. They're coming first. And Tren de Agua, your days are numbered. My gang's bigger than your gang. And we're going to take you out of the country. We're going to port you out of here.
Man, I mean, I've never heard somebody talk like this. My gang's bigger than your gang. It's unbelievable. But again, you want to get the job done. This is the guy. No other person can even match what he brings to the table, right? I am curious though. If there was another report, I don't have a clip of it here, but the president of Mexico was said to have actually signed tariffs into law against the United States. I don't know what those are. Let me just look it up, see if my AI can bring it up real quick. What are the tariffs against the U.S. that Mexico implemented? And it's because of all this stuff going on here, right? Because that was all right. So interesting. So some were put into effect in April. A variety of goods. Really? That doesn't seem like what I'm looking for. Hang on, guys. We got to find this real quick. So Mexico, U.S. Mexico to impose 35% import tariffs on textile sector. Would a 25% tariff on all Mexican exports to the United States. Oh, okay. That's different. Import tariffs come in fears that cheap Chinese imports were entering the North American market through Mexico were on the rise. All right. Hang on one sec. Let me ask. So I don't even know what the trade balance is between the U.S. Mexico off the top of my head here. What is that? I wonder. All right, pulled up my AI here. Let me get it going on the audio. All right. Can you tell me how much import-export trade we do with Mexico?
As of 2023, the United States and Mexico have a strong trade relationship, with the total trade in goods being over $600 billion annually. The U.S. exports goods like machinery, vehicles, and agricultural products to Mexico, while importing vehicles, electrical machinery, and mineral fuels from Mexico. Quite the economic partnership.
How much does the United States export specifically?
In 2023, U.S. exports to Mexico were around $280 billion. Big numbers for a significant trading bond. Anything else about trade you're curious about?
What types of things did the U.S. export again?
The U.S. exports a variety of goods to Mexico, including machinery, vehicles, agricultural products, electrical machinery, and medical instruments. A broad range, really. Want to know more about any of these?
Hey, Dallas, I'm sorry. This is just the voice AI. Just bring it on here. Sometimes it's a little bit quicker to kind of relay info during the live stream than me typing it in and waiting for a response. Didn't mean for it to jump out at you guys like that. It does some funny stuff sometimes. Eventually, if you talk to it long enough, it'll start laughing at you and trying to, I don't know, throw a jab at you here and there, which is weird. Like, who trained it to do that? But most vehicle parts are made in China and Mexico, most likely. And here's like, now ask what Mexico exports to the U.S. All right, well, let's ask it that. Hang on. So what does Mexico export to the United States for that $400 billion?
Mexico exports a lot to the U.S., including vehicles, electrical machinery, mineral fuels, and agricultural products. A diverse trade mix. Curious about any specific?
Which ones of those are most sensitive to tariffs?
Vehicles and agricultural products are especially sensitive to tariffs in U.S.-Mexico trade, due to their significant economic impact and the interconnected nature of supply chains. Tariffs in these sectors can affect prices and trade flows significantly.
Let's see. What auto manufacturers build their vehicles in Mexico?
Several automakers build vehicles in Mexico, including General Motors, Ford, Fiat Chrysler, now Stellantis, Volkswagen, Nissan, Toyota. These companies take advantage of Mexico's skilled workforce and trade agreements. It's a hub for auto manufacturing. Anything else you'd like to explore?
All right, so this is Microsoft's product Copilot, which is based on ChatGPT because Microsoft was a seed investor for that company. But they they have access to all of their tech, but they take their tech and then they apply some of their own stuff to it to differentiate it. So it doesn't work exactly like ChatGPT, doesn't sound or respond exactly like it, but the foundation of it is basically the same, the underlying architecture and the core components of it. But the voice interaction feature is a new thing. It's pretty quick. I don't know how it works much beyond that, but anyway, that's what the product is that I'm using right now. But I use Grok, I've used ChatGPT directly as well. Those are probably the three primary ones that I ever use at this point. Jonathan says my Dodge Ram was manufactured in Mexico. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so they export $400 billion to the United States. It said so. They export $400 billion We import 200 to them. Sounds like they have much more to lose. But let me see. What is the GDP of Mexico? What is Mexico's GDP?
As of 2023, Mexico's GDP was approximately $1.3 trillion. It's one of the largest economies in Latin America. Interested in how that breaks down?
So, what is the U.S. exports as a percentage of GDP for Mexico?
U.S. exports to Mexico make up around 20 to 30% of Mexico's GDP, highlighting the importance of U.S. trade to the Mexican economy.
Actually, I got that wrong. Can you tell me what Mexican imports to the United States are as a percentage of Mexico's GDP?
No problem. U.S. exports to Mexico make up around 20 to 25% of Mexico's GDP. It's a substantial portion, underlining the importance of trade between the two countries.
What is Mexico's imports as a percentage of U.S. GDP?
Mexican imports to the U.S. account for a small percentage of the U.S. GDP, around 1 to 2%. Still, it's significant given the size of the U.S. economy. Anything else on your mind?
Remember the carne asada too. Yeah. So, I asked that question just for a scale standpoint, right? So, if you look at it, Mexico stands to lose much more in this proposition if they are initiating these tariffs and they're serious about sticking to them. The only one I read was that it was specific to the textile industry, and I mean, maybe I can ask my AI here, but a lot of the bovine they get from us. Okay. Oh boy. All I could get, let me see. Sorry, I missed some chats here. All I could get AI to do was to repeat what I said and tell me what I meant by it. Oh. That's unfortunate. But but Mexico stands to lose quite a bit more in this scenario, right? About 25% of their GDP is dependent on our trade relations. He does seem serious, though. Yeah, that is true. I just, how quickly will you revert once 25% of your GDP is in jeopardy versus us at most being 1%? I mean, if that 1% takes like a quarter of a percentage hit because of it, there may be sectors and areas that will feel it, but the country as a whole will continue to operate. Sounds like Mexico's, it'll be catastrophic if the trade relations with them is interrupted in any significant way. Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Bosky. That's absolutely right. Absolutely right on that. All right. Let's continue with Tom Homan here.
Who do you think you are, coming to the greatest nation on earth and victimizing Americans in this country? Your days are numbered. You're number one on the list. MS-13, you're right behind them. To the sanctuary cities who want to attack me every day so you can put roadblocks up, you're not going to assist us. Shame on you. Shame on any elected representative, any congressman, council person, any mayor, any governor who don't want to remove public safety threats from your community, and they're here illegally. That is your number one responsibility, is protect your communities. So if you're not going to do it, President Trump and ICE will.
Wish he was your stepdad.
The mayor of Chicago, not a real bright guy,
Mayor of Chicago.
says Tom Homan isn't welcome in Chicago. Well, guess where Tom Homan's going to be day one? Chicago, Illinois.
This is great. This is perfect. I'm looking forward to it. Let's. I don't know. We gotta. He needs to bring some cameras with him. We all need to see this unfold.
You don't want me there? Come get me. The people of Chicago have spoken. I went there a few weeks ago. The black community's upset. The whole community's upset because violent crime is up and millions of dollars in public services are being given to people who are not supposed to be here. Meanwhile, the tax-paying community that is in a bad way because the Biden administration's economic plans, they're getting robbed every day by giving millions of dollars to people that aren't supposed to be here.
All right. I saw CO2 mentioned here, global warming. Let me see if I can. Hey, are you still there?
Absolutely. I'm here. What's up?
All right. So how much carbon dioxide is in a can of Coke?
A can of soda usually contains around 2 to 3 grams of carbon dioxide. That's what gives it the fizzy effect.
How much Coke is consumed on a daily basis globally? Hello? Oh no, what happened? I think my AI. Are you still there? Hello? Okay, that was not a good noise. I think the AI kind of... I gotta restart it here. And when I do, I have to like reinitiate the whole discussion.
2.2 grams of carbon dioxide. What's next?
All right, so how much Coke is consumed on a daily basis around the world?
Globally, people consume around 1.9 billion servings of Coca-Cola products every day. That's a lot of fizz. Anything else you'd like to know?
How much CO2 is released from all that Coke that's consumed in tons?
So, considering there's about 6 grams of CO2 in a liter of Coke, and a serving is typically 330 milliliters, if we calculate for 1.9 billion servings, it's roughly 11,400 metric tons of CO2 released daily. Quite a carbon footprint.
What is the price being traded for a ton of CO2 right now?
The carbon price varies depending on the market and region, but as of late 2024, it ranges from around $20 to $100 per metric ton of CO2, significantly influenced by local environmental policies. Got more questions?
Well, anyway, so what is that, like 11 million? Am I getting that right? 11 million? 1, 2, maybe it's... Well, anyway, millions of dollars of CO2 needs to be traded on the open market in order for you to enjoy Coke. I don't know. All right, back to Tom Homan.
That's not the way it's supposed to be, folks. It's not okay to be in this country illegally. It's not okay to enter this country illegally. It's a crime to enter this country illegally. Now, let me continue to educate sanctuary cities. You want to not help? Fine. Shame on you. If you don't want to protect your communities, shame on you. But we're going to do it for you. You're not going to stop me. We're coming. So put up all the roadblocks you want, because we'll knock them down.
I'm getting pro wrestling vibes, but I like it though.
And don't cross that line. People say Holman threatened to prosecute everybody in the world. I'm not threatening to prosecute anybody. What I'm saying is there's a line. You don't want to help, that's fine. Well, there's 2 statutes you need to be familiar with. One's 8 U.S.C. 1324 III. If you knowingly impede, if you knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from ICE, that is a felony, and there will be consequences. Now, let me make it clear. The governor says I don't have the authority to do that. Well, no shit. I'm not a U.S. attorney, but U.S. attorney certainly does, and we'll ask for prosecution. We will not let you prevent us from saving the American communities from illegal alien crime. It's not going to happen. We're going, we're coming.
If you haven't already done so, give the live a like.
So even though I say we're going to prioritize criminal threats and national security threats out of the gate, that's a fact. However, when sanctuary cities won't let us into the jail to arrest the bad guy in the safety and security of that county jail, which means they're going to release that criminal back into the immigrant community, which puts the immigrant community at risk of crime. It puts our officers at great risk. Rather than arresting a guy in the safety and security of a county jail where he don't have weapons, now we got to go to the community, find him. We have access to who knows what weapons. You're putting the community at risk. You're putting officers at risk. You're putting the alien at risk. And I'm going to give you exactly what you don't want. You don't want us in jail? All right, so I'll send a whole bunch of agents into your community, and we'll find the bad guy. And when we find the bad guy, he's probably going to be with others that aren't a priority apprehension, but guess what? They're getting arrested too. So you'll get exactly what you don't want, more arrests in your communities. I don't want to do that. I'd much rather be safe for the agents to arrest the guy in the county jail, but they don't let us in. Fine. You're not going to stop us. We'll go to the community, and we will find him. You're not going to stop us. Put all the roadblocks you want. It's not going to work. We're going to do this because the American people demand it. You gave President Trump a mandate, and we're going to make sure that mandate's held up. President Trump's backstage. President Trump's backstage. And let me say, I want to say one thing in closing. And I said it at the RNC and I meant it. The criminal cartels in Mexico have killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined. Over 250,000 young.
I appreciate it, Jonathan. You don't have to mean it. You could give it a not like also. Give it a thumbs down. Up to you.
Americans have died from fentanyl poisonings. President Trump's going to hold China accountable for creating the precursors he's selling to the cartels. President Trump's going to hold Mexico accountable for not doing anything about these criminal cartels. President Trump's going to designate them terrorist organizations. And we're going to wipe them off the face of the earth. Criminal cartels keep making, I got numerous death threats. Criminal cartels, you make death threats against me, bring it. Because the greatest country on the face of this earth is going to put you out of business and put you in prison. If Mexico don't do it, the United States will. President Trump will. Are you ready to secure the border? Then get on your feet. Are you ready to secure the border? Are you ready for the biggest deportation operation you've ever seen? Are you ready for President Trump to walk on this stage? God bless you. God bless America.
All right, you got everybody pumped up. I'm assuming Trump is the next speaker after him. But it sounds like they are going to have task forces. And like you said, they're going to go for folks that are already in custody first and go from there, right? Get the easy ones and then, move on to stuff that's a little bit more difficult. Stormtroopers raiding door to door. I hope it's not going to be like that, door to door. I'm sure there'll be plenty of videos, though. It's not illegal. No reason. Yeah, no reason to worry. Hey, L, thanks for the sub. Just being disgruntled. All right. So, anyway, there's a lot of speakers at the event. I think Ted Cruz was there. There's a lot of different prominent conservative figures, and then, of course, Trump makes his entrance. I'm going to mute the beginning of it, hopefully, because it has some copyrighted music. Let's see if we can kind of just play the intro as he's kind of going in. Oh. Here we go.
Well, hello, Arizona. It's great to be here. Nice to win the election. That's very nice to win. And I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas. They don't say that too much anymore. We say it. And when I had all that smoke backstage...
You know, it is funny when I tell somebody Merry Christmas at work, they kind of light up. Why is that? Why has that been problematic recently?
I said, hey, are there any steps in front of me? I don't want to go down. I go down, that would not be good. We don't want to do that, nice and slow. But I just want to thank you. What a beautiful production this is. What a great job the whole group does. And it's been amazing. Turning Point's been amazing. And it's really been tremendous numbers of American patriots. It's really been great. And you saw what happened last month. And we had Turning Point's grassroots army. It's an army. They turned out to vote, and they voted in record numbers, and everybody else voted in record numbers too, I have to tell you. And we did something that was really epic. We won a battle that a lot of people thought was very hard to win, you know, too big to rig. Remember what I said, too big to rig. We make it too big to rig, we're going to win. And it really
Yeah, Alex, I do know.
Political victories in the history of our country, and that's good. They said one of the very big radical left newspapers said the most consequential election in the last 129 years. And I said, couldn't they have made it a little bit longer than that? You know, 129 years, but that's pretty good. But we won. Oh, it's so nice. We won the popular vote by a lot, by millions and millions.
Can't hear it. Hang on a sec. Let me see if I could change audio real quick. Give me 1 sec. Let me see 1 sec. Let me switch back over. All right. Hopefully that did the trick.
For the first one, we won and we did great.
Hopefully it's a little louder.
They always would say, while he didn't win the popular vote, he won the electoral college. You know, they'd say that low. But we actually did very well then, but we did really well the second time. And this time, we said, to hell with it. We've got to just blow up.
You know, he's just like telling stories all the time, right? He just likes getting up there telling stories. It's almost like a bit of a stand-up in some ways, right? But I don't know. He meanders and talks about. To me, it's not a nothing. He talks about a lot of things beyond what's asked for, beyond what's just in front of him on the teleprompter.
Him away, and that's what we did. We blew him away. So we won all 7 swing states. Remember, they were saying, well, you know, we did very well in early voting, so we didn't have to win too much because we were way ahead. But they said, well, he only has to win 2. But we won all 7. Can you believe it, huh? We won all 7. And we carried the great state of Arizona, something not easy for a Republican to do, but it was easy for us
Let me know if that sounds a little bit clearer, or louder, I should say.
to do. And we had more than a 6-point landslide. That's called the landslide here. And not only did we reclaim the White House, we also took back the U.S. Senate. And we won the largest popular vote majority for House Republicans in a presidential year since 1928. That's a pretty good thing. And I want to express my tremendous gratitude to Charlie Kirk. He's really an amazing guy. Amazing guy. And his whole staff for their relentless efforts to achieve this very historic victory. It's such a great honor. It's not my victory, it's your victory. It's a great honor, man. We worked hard on this. We knew bad things happened in 2020, and if I didn't know that we won in 2020, I wouldn't have done this because it would have been like the ultimate poll, right? But we won by a lot, and this time we said, look, now we got to really win by, and we won by so much. They just, you know, they threw all their placards. They wanted to protest. They were all set, and at about 9 o'clock. They said, man, this guy's killing us. They threw the placards. They went home, and we had no riots. We had no anything. It was a beautiful thing to watch. They just said, we lost. And we want to try bringing everybody together. We're going to try. We're going to really give it a shot. The thing that brings people together is victory. It's winning And we had that for much of my first year. We had the greatest economy in history in our first term.
That's pretty funny, Charlie. It smells like iodine and Dior. You should put that on a t-shirt or something. It should be like an orangey, iodine-ish colored t-shirt.
We can now call it a first term. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country, maybe in the history of any country, frankly. And we did things that nobody could have done, and we're going to do them even better now.
So, okay, how's 2025 going to be? I have not looked at the markets this evening. Let's see. Trading view. What does the pre-market look like? My recap. No, I don't want to look at my recap right now. It's probably going to say, you've looked at these things the most in the last year. Come on, get to the homepage. I don't want to see my recap. Where? How do I get to the homepage? Markets. Entire world. Come on. All right. Let's check out the Dow. What's the Dow going to do here? So it was up Friday after 9 consecutive days off. I think this is the weekly chart. Is it? Let me see. From right. Monthly. Oh. What does this say? Oh, okay. But look at this. Look how many days in the negative in a row. And then you had this big drop off. We might get a little bit of a rebound, but I'm just worried because inflation's coming up a little bit more. Unemployment's, nobody's drilling into it. I think there's like 600,000 people that have second jobs. 600,000 more people that have second jobs, part-time jobs, in addition to their primary job now versus a year ago. You keep drilling into things and you hear more and more little stats like that, and it's it doesn't really inspire confidence. Like we're going to be taking a dip here pretty soon. Federal Reserve did not lower rates as much as expected. That hit the markets pretty hard. Are they going to cut rates at all next time it comes up? I mean, they may stop altogether, and that's going to really, cause some issues for folks. But I don't know. Like I think right here, 38 is reachable. But do we go beyond? Yeah, and of course I set my thing down here for 37. Ignore this one. This is a worst case scenario, but I don't know. I've got concerns. 2025 economy. So I'm out of all my Bitcoin, everything at this point. Well, I mean, I was a few weeks back actually, but I don't know. I'm worried about it.
Something's happened because that was a big defeat for them. Nobody expected the numbers. You know what happened? The pollsters went around, and whenever anyone said, it's none of your business, they say, who are you voting for? Or who did you vote for? They said, it's none of your business. And sometimes they said much tougher language than that, but I'm not going to get into that because I'll get in big trouble on the home front. And with Franklin Graham, please, sir. He says, please, sir, please don't use foul language. You speak so beautifully. You can do.
Yeah, don't buy at the top, folks. Don't sell at the bottom. Jim Cramer has been a pretty good indicator. He's started to become super positive on crypto in the last month. That should have been your warning sign right there. I mean, you go down my my videos, and I've got some of him name. It's funny, right? He doesn't even know what these coins are, but he's naming different coins: Ethereum, Solana, so forth. And then he names this one coin Filicon, and you're like, what the heck is that? He mispronounced Filecoin. All right. He clearly doesn't know what these coins are, but he's reading a script being negative about them and how they're all going to go bust. It was, when things were like pretty low, say a year and a half ago or whatever, and now all of a sudden he's a fan. But let's see what he says during this next dip, because it's going to be just that scenario. It'll take another dip, but long term, the trend is, I think, pretty much intact.
Just as well. Actually, it doesn't work quite as well, but that's okay. It's just emphasis. But when they said essentially, it's none of your business, that was a Trump vote. And they had the highest numbers of people that said that because they don't trust the press, etc. And we had the highest numbers, and that's why the polls showed us winning, but not winning in a landslide like we did. And we sort of knew that was going to happen. We could tell by the rally signs. Look at this. Here we won. There's no reason except celebration, but that's not a bad reason, is it? And look at the crowd. They have 7,000 or 8,000 people standing outside. They can't get in. Would anybody like to give up their seat, please? Huh? You know, doing this for years, I don't think I've ever had anyone say, yes, I'll give it up. Just one person, nobody. The Democrats and the media said the Turning Point could never run a ground game. They weren't experienced. They didn't know Charlie, right? But when the ballots came in, the other side...
What is that, Tin Man? I don't like how Canadians call napkins... What, servettes? Well, you know, I asked where the bathroom was when I was in Canada. Everybody looked at me funny. And evidently it's a washroom, but, I mean, I don't know.
Really didn't know what the hell hit them. They got hit hard. The victory was such an outstanding one, such a big one. And the other side now, and we don't want this. We want people to be happy and healthy. But they did. They lost their confidence. If you watch television now, they're all befuddled. They don't know what the hell happened. They're befuddled, to use quite a nice word that my mother used to use years ago, talking about somebody that's a mess. But they did. They've lost their confidence, and hopefully they'll lose it for a long time and then come over to our side because we want to have them. We want to.
Yeah, you know, I raised the volume on the Trump clip here. I don't know why this particular clip, I guess I didn't normalize the audio before I posted it. But this clip is pretty low and very likely, well, I guess this is the last one I got going. Push it up a little bit. I can maybe bump it up maybe one more. Hang on a sec. See if I can get that going here. All right. I don't want to go much higher just in case it messes too much with folks.
And we're going to have some inauguration on the 20th. We're going to have something. It's going to be good. Going to be good. But something happened also in the election. All 50 states shifted toward the Republican Party, every single one of them. And together we won the largest share of African-American voters of any Republican.
So do you think that short busting is going to be a serious problem in the next major recession? I think the biggest problem is going to be, you know, they have capital requirements for banks now. I feel like there's just going to be some sort of credit situation again where folks figured out a way of getting over leveraged, and I'm talking about the banks and stuff. They'll just keep getting over leveraged over and over again. There's something around there that we haven't completely unraveled yet that makes me a little uncomfortable. And you couple that with the rising household debt, and it's not a good situation overall.
Republican in modern history, actually in history. We won more Hispanic American votes than any Republican ever, and we won the vote. We won the Latino men. Who's a Latino man? Do we have any Latino men? Now, you're not a Latino man. Very beautiful woman, but a man you are not.
What? I don't know what's going on now.
Of course, nowadays, who the hell knows? But we won the Hispanic, I call Hispanic. I always said...
You know, I do find it worrisome, though, that there's just a small subset of very large banks that seem to continuously absorb smaller regional banks over and over again. That's kind of problematic. I think they need to focus on diversifying a little bit more for a multitude of reasons, right? The lending practices, the actually knowing people in a community, so forth. I don't know. There's I don't like the monopolization of the financial system that might come along with that. But like you're saying, it's just a continuous stream of things just continuing to go under, and the Federal Reserve having to step in.
Do you like Latino or Hispanic? Let's go. Let's do a free poll. Who likes to be called Latino? Okay, that's what's always happening. Listen to this. Who likes to be called Hispanic? Not as good as usual. But we won half of all voters aged 18 to 29. There's never been anything like that. We won by 36 young people. And we got the highest share of youth vote of any Republican ever before in history. And we had great people. You know, my son Barron said, Dad, you got to see this one, that one, this one. He said he likes Joe Rogan a lot, too. He said, you got to see Joe Rogan. Dad, you got to do an interview with these people. And he is a sort of a feel for young people, I guess.
Last major recession completely changed the game for them. Yeah. Yeah, it sure did. If a sentence is indiscernible or incomprehensible, where the flex? Where?
That's a nice thing to have when you're young, but he has a feel for it, and it was amazing. So we got the highest vote ever for a Republican candidate. We won by 36 points with young people. That never happens. A Republican loses by 36 or 40. So I'm going to have to start thinking about TikTok. I think we're going to have to start thinking.
What's he saying about TikTok?
You know, we did go on TikTok, and we had a great response with billions of views, billions and billions of views. They brought me a chart, and it was a record, and it was so beautiful to see. And as I looked at it, I said, maybe we got to keep this sucker around a little while. You know, who wants to? Oh, look, I see Sheriff Joe. Sheriff Joe, could we use you on the border? Stand up. Sheriff Joe. Look at that. He had no problems with the border. You could straighten your border out in 2 minutes. We'll put Sheriff Joe over there. And and you're looking good, Joe. You're looking good. And we miss your wife, right? Your great wife. She's up there proud as hell of you. But he had no border problems. You didn't have any border problems. And we'll do that very shortly for you. We're going to have, you have a governor that doesn't know what the hell she's doing. You have people that don't know what they're doing. Then we're going to change it because your border is a disaster. Your border is a disaster, what's going on. And you just have a few days to wait. We're going to be fully operational, I would say, by about 2 o'clock on the 20th. 20th of January. With your help, we gained 23 points with voters under the age of even 25. Think of that. We gained 23 points. And in the election of 2024, our movement not only won a mandate, but we built new American majorities all over the place and will define our country's future. I believe it's going to define our country's future for generations to come. That's going to happen. It's, you know, there's some people called up that are great people, actually. Great business leaders called, a lot of them. And some of them weren't exactly on my side, but they're on my side now. But they said there's a light over not only the country right now, but over the entire world. And it is happening. And we want to get some of these wars that would have never happened, like Russia, Ukraine would have never happened. Israel would have never been attacked, would have never happened. We wouldn't have inflation. We wouldn't have had that Afghanistan horror show, that horrible, horrible, the way we left, leaving billions of dollars of equipment behind and 13 soldiers. And, you know, nobody ever mentions, and I mention because I love them, and they're all watching right now. 48 soldiers that were horrifically injured. Nobody ever, they lived, and they don't talk about them, but these are incredible warriors that were hurt so badly with the legs and the arms and the face, and hurt so badly. 48 of them, and we love you. You're listening, and we love you. We're not forgetting you. And for all of us standing before you today, I can proudly proclaim that the golden age of America is upon us. It's going to be a golden age. There's a spirit that we have now that...
You know, talking about this golden age concept, been thrown out there quite a few times, in different... during debates and so forth, during the campaign, a whole lot. I think there's going to be a downdraft in the economy overall. That I don't know if it's going to happen right away in the next month. It might take till February-ish or so for it to really take hold. But once it does, I'm interested in seeing the media response to it. Are they going to put blame squarely on Trump? Of course, Trump's going to point out like how this all kind of unfolded, but there's just some sort of unwinding that I don't have my finger on yet that has to take place. They often point to the stock market. The liberals do, to say how well the economy's doing and how well everyone's doing. Look at the stock market. It's, 40,000+ the Dow Jones and so forth. Look at GDP, it's great, but they're missing the boat on individual metrics that actually matter to people. I mentioned earlier, over 600,000 people, new people, have taken on a second job part-time to make ends meet. So there's already millions of people doing that. And from last year till now, an additional 600,000 have started doing that. And that's the data that they don't talk about when you got to drill into that jobs report, right? Inflation is ticking up. Federal Reserve did not reduce rates as much as was anticipated by the market. They're probably not going to continue reducing rates into next year in the same way that they had anticipated. Household surveys going out, half of people in the country are having difficulty paying rent month to month. Groceries, of course, everyone talks about that. I mean, inflation, all these things have taken a pretty big hit. Household debt levels are rapidly increasing. Something's going to give at some point. And I think that it keeps getting closer and closer till we get to that point here. I don't know what the leading indicator, which I did know what the leading indicator would be for it, but we're starting to see cracks in the macro data as far as CPI having an uptick. The unemployment reports not coming in as expected, especially the one that was right before the election, came in pretty weak. And of course, right now there's some seasonality to things that come into play. You often hear retail sales. They say like, McDonald's, some of the other places, they're selling quite a bit more. Of course, McDonald's might be a special case because people are trading down to go there. But generally speaking, a lot of these retailers, their revenues are increasing just as a consequence of inflation. I don't know if folks are watching their margins or not, but a company like Walmart, back in 2020, they have pretty tight margins, right? Because they're a volume-based retailer. So they massive hundreds of billions of dollars of revenue. And they take, say, I think in 2020 it was about a 3.5% net profit margin. But then you look at them now, I think at the end of 23, if I remember correctly, their margin had dropped to under 2%, say, 1.5% or 1.75%. And yet, as a whole, you look at their revenue and it looks like it's going up, but they're starting to get squeezed too. And so that margin tightening up is an indication of not being able to pass on the cost to the consumer. They're having to take a hit so they can maintain volume and maintain market share, because that's just as important to them, right? So there's a lot of these data points that folks are not bringing together. And the business news networks have just been very optimistic. I question that sometimes. They bring these fund managers on there that I wonder if they just want to, from a retail standpoint, because that's who's watching business news mostly, they want to portray a positive image so that folks just don't hit the sell button on their 401ks and just, liquidate everything overnight. I don't know. I'm skeptical of a lot of these things, but I feel like we are going to have a hit. How significant and when, I just don't know. But the risk is too high for me, so I've adjusted accordingly on my side of things. But back to the Trump's golden age comment, we're going to have this correction that happens, and it'll be a substantial one. You've got companies trading at valuations that existed during the dot-com era for mostly tech companies, multi-trillion-dollar companies. It's a little crazy. So at this point, there has to be something that pulls them back into reality. And we'll see what that is, I think, coming up here pretty soon. But I'll let Trump continue. Maybe I'll just scan some of the chats. I've seen it moving quite a bit here.
We didn't have, just a short while ago, sadly we didn't have, who the hell can have spirit? Watching women get beat up in a boxing ring? I don't think that's spirit, right? We're going to end that one quick. We're going to end it very quickly. We're going to end that one very quickly. Since the election, the stock market has broken one record after another. The biggest gain of stock market after an election in history. That's a good sign. In a single month, small business optimism soared 41 points, which is a record. That's a record. Bitcoin has surged to an all-time record high of $108,000. Congratulations. Congratulations. And just last week, in an overwhelming statement of confidence in our leadership, the CEO of SoftBank, a very highly respected man in Asia, Masayoshi Son, you probably saw it announced that he will be investing, and only because I won the election, he made that clear, only because he has confidence in the United States, between $100 billion and $200 billion. And he's going to be investing. It's equal to about 100,000 jobs at least. And all over the world, people are investing now. They're starting the investments, and it's going to be a beautiful thing with the jobs. But they're calling it the Trump effect because even before taking office, we're already bringing in the jobs and opportunity and safety and common sense back to the USA. We're bringing common sense back. Maybe that's the most important thing. I think common sense is the most important thing, but not only are we seeing it at home, but we're seeing it abroad as well. The European Union is suddenly talking about buying vast quantities of natural, American, beautiful natural gas. Is beautiful, and it's very inexpensive. It's a lot less expensive than windmills all over the place.
That's, I think, a critical issue that a lot of folks are not supporting, unfortunately. Natural gas is much cleaner than coal and a lot of other, fossil fuel alternatives, especially when you add some of the newer tech on there to capture, some of what would have otherwise gotten vented out. But our LNG exports, if we can get that situation straightened out, is a major national security plus for us, right? Because, that Russian pipeline, having Europe kind of locked in and having a stable source from us for energy, there's a lot of security that comes along with that. Coal is bad. There was a time, I don't know. This is way longer time ago than I'd like to admit, but I had invested in BTU was the ticker. Peabody, are they still around? Is Peabody Energy still around? Because a lot of these Peabody coal. Oh wow, Peabody Energy still around. Look at that. Okay, they still are around. Investor stock information. Okay, give me a quote. All right, give me a chart. Where's the chart? I don't see a chart. Okay, it's just slow. Let's look at the 10-year chart. Anyway, made a little bit of money on Peabody way back in the day when it was acceptable. Yeah, look at this. We need a 10-year on that. Yeah, I thought it was even higher. I thought we were like in the 90s or close to 100 at one point when I sold it. Am I wrong? Hang on a second. Trading view. All right. I guess I got to look at my recap some point so it stops doing that. So BTU, Peabody, there we go. Let's look at a monthly chart. $2018. What happened? Did it... Maybe there was a bankruptcy and it relisted on this date. Because, I mean, I'm talking about like before 2010. I don't know. Got me. So this valuation at $30-ish is probably completely unrelated to where I remember it. Anyway, yeah, natural gas. I mean, excuse me. Natural gas is cleaner, but coal was a pretty big deal for a short period of time. All right. Have a good evening, Fright Club. Appreciate you. Thanks for contributing to the chat and the community here. Grandpa died of black lung like a man. Coal is already. Now we used MSNBC words. What were the MSNBC words? Excuse me. What's this weirdo doing in a hood in the dark? It's blue in here. What are you talking about? It's blue in here. The whole red versus blue, the con. You invest in coal. Yeah, many years ago. Made some decent money on it. Many, many years ago. Before Obama was actually elected, when he got elected, it was like, all right, sell that stuff because, you know, which he did. He killed coal, more or less. At that point in time, kerosene price too high. All things in Brazil are edging towards critical. Old products bring little advancement. Yeah, this is like the early 2000s, folks. The coal investment I'm talking about. Don't do it. It's not a good idea right now. It's on your part of the woke culture. Coal is a waste of money. You can make coal if you want. Basically, nowhere uses it anymore. Yeah, I mean, don't touch coal, guys. It's not a good idea. Coal's about as relevant as a horse and buggy. Yeah, coal. Tin Man's correct. Coal. I mean, we had way more coal power plants. A number of years back now. How long ago was it? Let me see. How long ago was it? Ask my AI real quick. Wow, the AI is a little bit loud here.
Got it, Masood. I'll tone it down. How's this?
Hey, what percentage of America's electricity is generated from coal?
Coal accounts for about 20% of electricity generation in the U.S. these days. Anything else you're curious about?
What percent of electricity did it generate in the year 2000?
In the year 2000, coal generated about 52% of America's electricity. Quite a shift over the years.
So you could see why it was a reasonable investment in the early 2000s, especially as demand was growing from China, because it was a big, emerging economy at that point. So it was pretty hot. Couldn't get enough of it. It's not the 1890s. We've evolved past coal. Yeah, we definitely have. Absolutely have. But, I mean, as you heard, 52% of electricity in the year 2000 was generated by coal, for better or worse at that point in time. Now it's down to 20, which is a good thing. Nat gas is way cleaner. We need more of that. But anyway, nobody's simping for coal in here. It's willing to buy coal. Yeah. Not an endorsement of coal. I'm just saying I made a little money on coal way back in the day. That's all.
A lot less expensive. But I've informed Mexico and Canada that they will have to step up and stop the illegal aliens and illegal drugs from pouring into our country. Have to stop. And that goes for the European Union, and it goes for many other places. European Union's treated us very, very badly. We have hundreds of billions of dollars with deficits. They don't take our cars. They don't take our agricultural product, but we take theirs. And they've got to be careful. They can't treat us that way. They're not going to be treating us that way for long, that I can tell you. Because we're not going to let them turn the United States into a dumping ground. We're not going to let it happen. We pay Canada in subsidies and deficits over $150 billion a year. And you say, why are we doing that? Why are we paying Canada $150 billion? Essentially, we're paying Canada, and we love Canada. I have so many friends. I love Canada. I love it. But why are we spending $150 billion on Canada? Yet Canada allows people and drugs to flood in through our northern border. You know, we have a northern border that's not doing so well either. Likewise, people are coming in from Mexico in numbers that have never, ever been seen before. We had 21 million people come in over the past 4 years. Think of that.
Terry, appreciate you. Thank you for the nice comments there. Just wanted to call that out.
21 million people, and you see a lot of these people should not be here. They come from mental institutions and prisons from all over the world, not just South America. Hundreds of thousands more are racing to get across before January 20th. You got to see it. And I was very strong with Mexico. I spoke to the new president, who was lovely, wonderful woman, and President Sheinbaum. Wonderful woman, actually, but I said, you can't do this to our country. We're not going to take it anymore. You can't do it. But I've informed Mexico that it just cannot continue. We're not going to let it continue. The United States has lost 300,000 people a year. Think of that. I don't know. I mean, how many people, everybody you meet said, I lost my daughter, I lost my son to drugs, to fentanyl. Mostly to fentanyl, but to drugs. Families are being destroyed, and we're going to stop it. We're not going to let that happen. And we're also going to be doing something that's, I think, going to help.
So on this Mexico topic, for folks that weren't here earlier, 25%, I think, and this is, yes, X, this is according to my AI, because I asked it, quick reference that it provides us with. 25% of Mexico's GDP is tied to trade with the United States. I just said AI, and I'm going to say hello to IA from, looks like Japan. Appreciate you joining in. So 25% of Mexico's GDP, 25% of their GDP is tied to trade with the United States. 1% or less than 1% of U.S. GDP is tied to trade with Mexico. So if there is some level of a tariff conflict, war, or whatever you want to call it, Mexico stands to be in a more losing position than the United States. They're the ones that'll take the bigger hit. I mean, for obvious reasons there, right? So I don't think that the stance, I mean, they showed, clips of the Mexican president signing into law some tariffs against the United States. The only thing I read was that it was against textiles being imported. I don't know if any of that stuff is really going to stand. I don't even know how substantial the textile imports are. To where, is that just a ceremonial action that she's taking? But it's, it is pretty significant. So I can see trying to not lose face, but at the end of the day, you kind of have to play ball. I don't think that was the best negotiating stance to start with. You think you could kind of come out and say, like, hey, we want to play ball. Can you help us out with this or that? Let's be best friends or whatever, right?
A lot. We're going to do very big advertising campaigns, just like a campaign for running for president. We spend a lot of money, but it'll be a very small amount of money relatively. We're going to advertise how bad drugs are for you.
Yeah, let me ask my AI real quick. Sorry if the AI is a little bit loud. I had to increase the volume output to... this video is just kind of low, but all right, here comes the AI. Don't let it scare you. Hey, can you tell me how much trade the United States does with China?
Sure. The United States trade with Russia totaled around 34 billion.
China, not Russia.
Got it. As of 2023, U.S.-China trade was around $700 billion annually. It's a significant number.
What is the... hold on, let me turn it back on. What percentage of United States GDP is correlated to trade with China?
Trade with China makes up about 3% of the U.S. GDP. It's a key component of the overall economy.
What percent of Chinese GDP is made up by trade with the United States?
Trade with the U.S. accounts for roughly 3% of China's GDP. It's a crucial part of their economic activity.
I don't know why I thought it would be more. I thought it would be more than 3%. Ask the AI how much China owns U.S. companies. Hey, can you tell me how much Chinese ownership of U.S.-based companies there is?
Chinese ownership of U.S.-based companies represents a small fraction of the total, but exact figures fluctuate. Investments range across various industries. Complex topic, huh?
Excuse me, guys. All right, let's let Trump continue here. But again, like I was saying earlier, with respect to Mexico, their economy is far more reliant on the United States than we are on them. So they would have a massive, massive effect if we start to get into some trade war here.
How bad they are. They ruin your look, they ruin your face, they ruin your skin, and ruin your teeth. If you want to have horrible...
All right, focus. Let me ask that. How much does the United States rely on Chinese imports?
The U.S. relies on Chinese imports for about 18% of its total imported goods. China plays a big role in supply chains. Anything else on your mind?
Aha, there we go. Good question, focus. So 18% of all imports, and then you correlate that to all the critical supply chains, which are probably numerous. I can't even probably rattle off a dozen of them, or I should say. I can't rattle off that many of them. But that's a good question. Helps clarify things. Thanks for that, focus. All right, Levi, appreciate that.
Teeth, take a lot of fentanyl. If you want to have skin that looks so terrible, take fentanyl. We're going to show what these drugs are doing to you. Nobody's done that before, and we're going to do it. And that is, it's going to be like running a political campaign, just like running for president, just like we just did. We had some pretty good ads, right? We explained.
Hi,
we
welcome
explained what these people have done, how they're destroying our country. I mean, who would let millions of people pour in from prisons and jails and mental institutions, and I always say insane asylums? You know, the press gave me a hard time because sometimes I'd use the word.
So if you guys heard a loud outburst there, I just clicked on Levi's channel and it just started to go crazy on me here. So note to self, don't click through a bunch of links while you're live.
A name, Hannibal Lecter. They said, why does he mention Hannibal Lecter? That has nothing to do with it. Why would he? I mean, are they stupid? The fact is that we don't want Hannibal Lecter. You know what that is? Silence of the Lambs. We don't want Hannibal Lecter, Dr. Hannibal Lecter in our country, do we, huh? And you know what happened when they went to the voting booth? Or, unfortunately, they signed their mail-in ballot. But we got by it. We got to change all of that stuff. We got to have great.
Okay. So Canada consists of 10 provinces right now and 3 territories. So 10 to say, oh, wow. How about that? What distinguishes the territory versus province, I wonder?
Fair, confident elections. But when they went into the booth or they signed their ballot, they said, Hannibal Lecter, that's a bad guy. We don't want him here. They knew that. They didn't like that. They didn't like that I used them because it's a very good example. It's like incredible what they do. We need borders. We need fair elections, and we need a free and fair press. And we're going to try getting all of them. As another example of the things we're doing and looking at, it's such a terrible thing is happening. The Panama Canal is considered a vital national asset for the United States of America due to its critical role, American economy, the whole world economy, and also national security. The Panama Canal. Has anyone ever heard of the Panama Canal? Huh? Because we're being ripped off at the Panama Canal.
I appreciate it, Levi. Thank you very much. And hey, guys, if you haven't liked already, please like the live stream. I'd appreciate it. Or if you don't like it, you can dislike it too. But can't hear the speech by. Sorry, you couldn't hear the speech, Gina. I've bumped up the volume a little bit, but I don't want to go much higher because it's causing all the system volume to go up. So I don't want to get people stuck on some kind of outburst that just kind of jumps out at them. You know what I mean? So sorry you couldn't hear it. I just checked on one of my other channels and I increased the volume on my phone. I was able to hear it okay. But anyway, we'll work to normalize the audio on some of these videos. I didn't do it with this video. I think the processing time was just too long, so I posted it as it was.
Like we're being ripped off everywhere else. A secure, he just said take it back. That's a good idea. Where do you come from, sir? He doesn't come from Panama. Oh, yeah, good. A secure Panama Canal is crucial for U.S. commerce and rapid deployment of the Navy from the...
Oh, gotcha. So it's not as inhabited, the territories then?
Atlantic all the way to the Pacific. It's an incredible thing, and drastically cut shipping times down to U.S. ports by days and even weeks.
I'd go Cuba first if we could, then let's go to Greenland.
The United States is the #1 user of the Panama Canal with over 72% of all transits heading to or from U.S. ports. Think of that. So we built it. We're the ones that use it. They gave it away. Considered one of the one of the great wonders of the world. The Panama Canal opened for business 110 years ago and was built at huge cost to the United States, and it really is big when you consider the lives and the treasure, the equivalent of one.
Somebody asks, just out of curiosity, why you're in complete darkness. Hey Siri, make the study lamps white. There you go. Just white light.
$1.2 trillion today. You don't hear those numbers. 38,000 American men, almost all men, they went there to be construction workers and dig. They were diggers, and they were brave. 38,000 men died from infected.
It's actually because it's late, too. I see other folks putting the nice, colorful backdrops and stuff going on. You check out some of my other lives. I usually got a hat on. I thought the hood looked kind of interesting, so I just left it.
Mosquitoes in the jungles of Panama during the construction period. Think of that. We lost 38,000 men. Teddy Roosevelt was president of the United States at the time of its building and understood the strength of naval power and trade. When President Jimmy Carter foolishly gave it away for $1. During his term in office, it was solely for Panama to manage and not for China or any other country to manage. You see what's going on there? China.
It's like pure comedy every time he says China. Just the way he delivers it. It's just funny just listening to it.
It was likewise not given for Panama to charge the United States its.
I need a soft light on my face. Actually, I need to get a new camera. I don't think the quality on this one is too high, so I might look at getting a new camera. But I do need one of those kind of light things. I don't have one right now. I've literally been streaming here for a month, something like that. Maybe a month and a half, I think. So I don't have all the equipment and stuff. I'm going to turn the lights back to... Hey, Siri. Can you make the study lamps green? All right, let's go with green. How about that?
Navy and its corporations doing business within our country, exorbitant prices and rates of passage, which they do. They charge us like it's a disgrace. Our Navy and Commerce have been treated in a very unfair and injudicious way. The fees being charged by Panama are ridiculous, highly unfair, especially knowing the extraordinary generosity that has been bestowed to Panama, I say very foolishly, by the United States. This complete ripoff of our country will immediately stop. It's going to stop.
You're talking in Panama, Jonathan. I think I saw that clip where they were pulling the name off the sign. I'm pretty sure it's Panama, right?
The United States has a big and vested interest in the secure, efficient, and reliable operation of the Panama Canal. And that was always understood when they gave it to Panama. Can you believe that?
I think a lot of the point here is that we give out tremendous amounts of money in foreign aid to just about every country in the world. Yeah, Panama. Okay. We give out money all over the world, right? And in return, there's not a reciprocation of that. And so in the case of trade and the canal and stuff, and hey guys, if you're in the live, give me a like, I'd appreciate it. But in the case of the canal, there is not a reciprocation that's happening, is what he's highlighting. And there's many other instances of that too. So that's, to me, that's what's going on here, is that we're not getting a true benefit, and then on top of that, we're not getting, we're giving quite a bit.
We would never have done it if we thought what's happening now can happen, and we would never, and we will never, ever let it fall into the wrong hands. But it's falling into the...
He might be sick. He might have a cold going a little bit. I mean, I've got a bit of a cold going here myself that I'm just getting over, but he may have just a cold going. Sounds a little bit off here.
Wrong hands. It was not given for the benefit of others by a token of cooperation, but it was given to Panama and to the people of Panama, but it has provisions You got to treat us fairly, and they haven't treated us fairly. If the principles, both moral and legal...
Bo Jiden. I do hear a lisp. That's kind of funny. I don't know. Maybe it is a little bit of a fatigue thing too.
...of this magnanimous gesture of giving...
Now, there's no other signs of, I guess, memory loss or anything in that capacity of significance. There's a lot that goes along with it that's physical manifestations, not just mental, and you're not seeing that in the same degree. Like, Biden, when he would come out on stage, he would do that very unusual jog. The gait that he walked with is significantly off. You saw him being supported in many different respects. I'm telling you all this because I had, I don't remember the guy's name, or excuse me, his title, but he worked in a facility that helped care for a lot of folks with Alzheimer's and dementia and stuff, and he mentioned some of these physical signals that would also be present that Biden had been exhibiting. But I'm not an expert. I don't know. Beats me.
...are not followed, then we will demand that the Panama Canal be returned to the United States of America in full, quickly, and without question. I'm not going to stand for it. So to the officials of Panama, please be guided accordingly. William McKinley, the 25th President of the United States, was because of the vast sums of money that he brought into our country, the person really who got us the money, that President Theodore Roosevelt.
I don't think Dan of Japan, I don't think McKinley did anything criminal. I think he's fine. He's on a revenge trip getting booted out. They booted him while he was saying president. He was not removed from office. If you guys are talking about just the act of impeachment, that didn't remove him or anything, right?
Used to build the Panama Canal and a lot of other things. McKinley was...
Weird 1978. There is too much money in politics, though, overall. That is a fair point.
Very good, maybe a great president. They took his name off Mount McKinley, right? That's what they do to people. Now, he was a great president, very good president at a minimum. He was a very good businessman. He was a businessman, then a governor.
The optics, yes.
Successful businessman, and then he ran for president, and he won. And he was able to use business principles, and he was a strong believer in tariffs. And we were actually probably wealthiest of any time, relatively speaking, at any point in the history of our country. In the 1890s, we were so wealthy, we had commissions set up what to do with all the money that we were taking in. We had no income tax. We only had tariffs. I consider that to be the most beautiful word in the dictionary. But President McKinley was the president that was responsible for creating a vast sum of money in the United States that Teddy Roosevelt then spent. So let's say they were both excellent presidents.
I'm not sure I don't remember what the subject. Oh, we're talking about Panama. Okay.
McKinley did that, and that's one of the reasons that we're going to bring back the name of Mount McKinley, because I think he deserves it. I think he deserves it. There are lots of things we can name, but I think he deserves it. That was not very gracious to somebody.
All right, guys, I'm going to do a quick look at the news real quick. And if you haven't given the live a like, please do. Let's check out ground news real quick. Oops. Ground.news. All right, what do we got here? Politics. What's coming up Monday? Ooh, that was a horrible thing. Trump wants Greenland under U.S. control for purposes of national security. Oh, 46 sources. Really? What's going on here? Let's look at the bias comparison. All right. Left emphasizes Molino's strong defense of Panama. What? We're talking about Greenland as the title. And why the Panamanian sovereignty? Framing the U.S. influence as a threat, particularly from China, with statements like non-negotiable. Center highlights Trump's urgent rhetoric considering national security and ownership, using terms such as wrong hands. Okay, the right underscores Trump negotiation strategy, showcasing his assertiveness in protecting the United States' interests while advising caution against foreign influence, especially from China. Factuality. Donald Trump says buying Greenland is an absolute necessity. Really? That is so bizarre. Buying it? Yeah, damn. I mean, I don't know. That's interesting. Speech about Panama's president rejects Trump's threat. Trump hints at annexing Greenland to the United States. Futurist president last tried to buy Greenland in 2019. What? He already tried to buy it? Is this true? This is from a high factuality source. I don't know who this is. I'll have to take a look at that later. Hey guys, look. So this is ground news, and you can kind of, I mean, it does a nice job of talking about the factuality of rating the factuality of different sources, talking about the different lean and bias comparisons. There's an AI feature that they have in there now that kind of highlights specific talking points from the left or the right. But if you use my link in the pinned chat, you get this 50% off right now for the holidays. All right, let me see what else. So that was a new one. I didn't know about this Greenland issue. Trump claims Putin wants to meet with him as soon as possible. Wants to hold a meeting as soon as possible. All right. SNL cold open features Martin Short joining 5 celebrity cameos. Heroism attributed to. Yeah, this is kind of weird. Why that guy's being made out to be a hero at this point. Bargaining chip. Trump allies dismantle Elizabeth Warren's claim that GOP blocked childhood cancer research. You know, that's the thing. You can always like grab one line out of the bill that was, what, 1,500 pages and kind of attribute that to Trump as a whole. What chatbot do I use? If you're talking about the AI, it's Microsoft's AI product, Copilot. That's the one I use. Just looking at the chat real quick. Okay, what else do we got here? Steve Miller rejoined Doge. Oh, really? Interesting. Okay. You know who we haven't heard a whole lot about recently was Joe Biden. Let's see what's going on about him. Look at this. Most of the reporting on Biden right now is from the right. The left is starting to go a little radio silent on him. Fox News being the bulk source of news on Biden. China condemns U.S. military aid to Taiwan, calls it a red line. Oh, really? Interesting. Let's do the comparison. The left employs charge phrases like playing with fire, emphasizing U.S. actions as provocative. A red line confirms denunciation of U.S. support. The right aligns the U.S. interests, depicting Chinese concerns as overstated. whereas the left and center portray China's viewpoint as protective and defensive. So this is interesting that overall publications that lean more conservative are saying Chinese concerns are overstated is their assessment, but then the left and center say that China's viewpoint is one of being protective and defensive. $500 million of US. Oh, well, that's quite a bit. All right, guys. Hey, I appreciate everyone joining this evening. I'm going to close it out here. Let me end this poll. Again, yeah, Ground News special right now, 50% off their Vantage plan. Just use the link that I have in the pinned chat if you want to jump in on that. I use it for a lot of my research. Gives you kind of the complete picture of what's going on, along with some nice AI features. But we've had just a little over 26,000 people come through. I really appreciate that. Just like and subscribe. And I will catch you guys on episode 22 of Political ASMR soon. I appreciate you guys.
political cows battle never ends. In her light, dark reaches to light. False prophets